Sergeant Harry Bailey was given the arduous and difficult task of finding the elusive Mr. Qualtrough. If he could find Qualtrough, it was believed he had found Julia Wallace's killer.
The name Qualtrough was fairly irregular in Liverpool, but fairly common in the Isle of Man. Bailey did his research but could only find 14 Qualtroughs based in Liverpool, including a James Qualtrough who was a butcher. He decided to interview switchboard operators Louisa Alfreds and Lillian Martha Kelly. 50 years later, Lillian Kelly was living in New York and remembered the call.
I remember it so well because of the difficulty the man had making the call. He pressed the wrong button and he said, "Operator, I have pressed button A, but have not got my number yet." It was quite an ordinary male voice. There's nothing really unusual about it, but we heard that there had been a murder, and the police seemed to think that the telephone call was important.
Gladys Harley, being interviewed about the telephone call, described the voice as nothing out of the ordinary, but it probably belonged to somebody elderly. Whereas Samuel Beattie described the voice as strong and gruff, which gave the impression that it was probably put on.
In fact, Qualtrough, whoever he was, became one of the great legends of crime. James Agate proclaimed he was a genius, and Jonathan Goodman described Qualtrough as one of the most fastidious planners in the history of crime.
Legend has it that Samuel Beattie, the grocer responsible for taking the Qualtrough phone call, moved to Warbet Manor, where shortly afterwards, tormented by the identity of the mystery caller, he suffered a nervous breakdown. And then, the company he was working for folded 4 years later.
Mr. R.M. Qualtrough lived out his brief life over 2 evenings in Club Moor in January 1931. The telephone kiosk 1627, where he was introduced to the world, has long gone, and as far as anyone knows, no one has seen or heard from Qualtrough since.